Welcome to the February 26, 2016 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web exclusive production here on Channel 12. Let's get a quick take on Denver city officials announcing a plan this week outlining major renovations to the Denver Performing Arts Complex. The proposal, dependent on public and private investment, would rebuild Boettcher Concert Hall, add residences, expand parking, and include a space for performing arts students. Patty Calhoun from Westward. This is a great big plan. It looks pretty from all the different pictures they released, but can Denver pull this off?
Well, since we still have to come up with all the financing for the National Western Center, this is a really, really ambitious plan. All we know for sure is because of our lodging tax vote last November for the National Western Center, the convention center will be able to add that floor because there was 100 million, was it, in there for that. It is really ambitious, and that's not all. If they want to do this, they want to have a hotel. There are a lot of different parts of the project. I would say one part that does make sense is, we've talked about what will happen with Boettcher before, replacing Boettcher with a smaller auditorium where the parking lot is. That big parking garage isn't a bad idea because that parking garage has always been bad from the word go. Had a horrible 50-year contract when Denver first, the Performing Arts Complex was built, and they've realized almost no money on it. So that is a really smart part of the plan. But it is grandiose, and I have no idea how they think they're going to fund it. It is not going to be seat tax.
David Copeland of the Independence Institute and DU Law School. We've already taxed tourists for quite a bit between hotel rooms and rental cars and everything else. Do you think there's another plan of how to raise a tax to make this happen?
Well, part of the money for it is we're going to build these 3 big apartment towers and sell them to developers, and that'll raise a substantial amount of what's needed. So that could work. I like Patty, I'm curious about the parking. Do you know the people who are going to design the new parking garage and all this new thing are any better than whoever did the current garage, which everybody said is terrible? That's one of the things that unites us all as Denverites, is knowing how bad that garage is and coming in and going out. And they say it's going to add we'll have 900 additional spaces. Well, if you put 3 apartment towers in that same area, are those people going to be parking in the events garage, or are they going to have their own separate parking? Because if they're not going to have their own separate, huge amount of separate parking under the apartment buildings, then the parking situation is going to get even worse, and we're going to think about the good old days of the just, D+ level parking disaster that we currently have.
Eric Solomon, political analyst. This is in a long list of a lot of things from the city of Denver that wants to achieve, whether it's the National Western Complex, like Patty mentioned, or various projects at the airport. But secondly, it seems to me that there are some things that can't be changed. Spear Boulevard is still right there. It's only going to get busier. So if you creep closer to it, but you want some outdoor space and everything else, there's a lot of complicating factors here. Do you think they've done enough to address those, at least from the very beginning that we've seen?
I think it's a great start. It's only a start. I mean, there's been substantial process that's gone into it so far. I think, to Patty's point, yes, it's ambitious. Maybe it's even grandiose. Denver can pull this off. Denver has the resources and the ability to pull this off. Whether they do so, whether we do so, remains to be seen. There's financing plans still to be developed. There's a host of plans still to be developed. I joined about a year ago the board of the Colorado Symphony. It's a wonderful organization. I'm glad to see this plan. I think not only Boettcher, but other elements of the DCPA as well are due for an upgrade. I like some of the accessibility plans of opening up downtown in even more ways to empty into the Performing Arts Complex. I think those are interesting thoughts, but this is just an early chapter of what is going to be a long story to get from early plans to actual construction and opening.
Ben Gelt, political consultant. You've done a lot of work on city issues. You've worked with a lot of the city council campaigns. What are your thoughts about this? Should this be on a list of priorities for the city?
Well, I think improving the Performing Arts Center is certainly a priority. I think that what they've presented is conceptual at best. There are many, many more questions than there are answers. Obviously, the financing is one of the big ones, but who's the architect? Is there really a need to add that parking? I understand what the parking problems are, but all the research shows that if you build infrastructure to facilitate people using multimodal and public transit, they will. If we continue to build parking and continue to emphasize using highways and streets and people in their own cars by themselves, then that's what we'll do. So if we continue to just make adding parking a priority, then we're going to keep having traffic problems. So it's a little bit anti-intuitive, but it strikes me that there's a lot of problems. There's huge opportunity with this concept. Certainly creating a stronger connection between the performing arts complex and downtown is a big deal. Anything that really activates space in the city of Denver, in my view, is a huge positive, because if you look at a lot of the public spaces in the center part of the city, they're often unused or severely underused. So anything to enhance that connectivity is good. This is a concept without any sort of plan, without any sort of reality behind it. And in my view, given the history of this administration, there's a long way to go between what we have now and realizing any sort of meaningful vision.
I get your point, although I'm a little skeptical about an extra light rail stop with people going to a Mozart concert on a light rail.
But Boulder will stop
I
there.
think the age gap shows sometimes when I talk.
But it's optimism. I think it's fantastic. It's maybe not realistic. That's all the time we have for Colorado Inside Postgame this week. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.